Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to a stream where we will be working on Entropy Chat, which is a Discord clone that we started, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. It started as an idea in the chat, and then we decided to build it, and then we've sort of worked on it. We've got a lot of work to do, but welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. First, I will direct you to all the Entropy Chat related things. So if anybody comes into the chat and they're like, hey, what's Entropy Chat? You can just do !Entropy, and that will give you some links to the GitHub repo and to the landing page, which currently doesn't, it's just a landing page. You can't actually use it yet, but that's there. In a bit, I'll give an overview of the code and where we're at so far. But in the meantime, yes, oh yeah, LEDs are back. And so before we say hi to everyone, there are a few things you can do in the chat here. The first I've seen a lot of people doing, which is the drop game. So you can do !Drop followed by me, and that will drop your avatar. There I am, over there. And if it lands in the garden, you will get a seedling that will grow with your name. Yes, and I brought back the LEDs. So these LEDs, this is an 8-bit LED. Well, I mean, there are 8 LEDs. But you can turn them off and on using the command !LED. So you can see a few people that have done it. You do !LED followed by 8 zeros or ones, and it will turn on the corresponding bit. So you can do that. I think that's about it. I think that's all we got. Oh, there's also badges in the chat. So you might see some people's names in the chat. That have, like Chad, look at Chad. Chad has the US flag and the JavaScript badge on there. So if you take a look at this message, it has a link to the badges that you can use, and then the command you can use to set your country flag if you'd like to do that. So that's fun. Your status is broken on purpose, Katoli, isn't it? Reference error, status is not defined. Are you just messing with me? I think you're messing with me. And we have some new follows. Thank you very much to LP4Y for that follow, and Danny GTA, and Demigod, and Stormix. Thank you all for those follows. Thanks for being here. And now, well, thank you, Javis. I appreciate that. Hey, no worries, Locomoco. What we will do now, and thank you, Peric. Thanks for that follow, is say hello to everyone. So if you say hi, hello, hey, morning, afternoon, or LED, I will acknowledge you. Say hello. So hello, Terrazoid and Danny. These LEDs are in the way. We'll put them right there for now. And LOL1 and Happy Jojo, how's it going? And Arthur and Mark and Jack and Portal Gaming and Mint Jim and Darchul, welcome. Chief Mustardo, Entropy Hype. It's been a while since we worked on Entropy. I'm glad we are. Hello, Ripley. Bogahay. What's up, Doc? And Garvit and Caprice and Acelera. Well, thank you for sticking around, Portal Gaming. I appreciate you. Hello, Funny Dude. What's up? And the She-Boss and Mikio. Green David says, I'm learning JavaScript every day to code along with you, and I still think that your higher order function tutorial are the best on YouTube. Well, I appreciate that. If you want to find what they're talking about, just search for Coding Garden higher order methods or higher order functions on YouTube. You should find it. And thank you. Yes. Hello, Irradiated Unicorn. How's it going? I like the pink JavaScript, like purplish pink JavaScript logo. It looks pretty cool. Hello, YSJ. How's it going? And Acharaya, welcome. And Casper, and Zacharia, and Pybfism. Welcome. What's up, Pete? And Monoloito, and the real Pygon. It's been a few days, maybe a week or two since I've seen you, real Pygon. Welcome back. Hello, Katoli. Yeah, I posted a link earlier in the chat to the song that was playing. Hello, Gazija. Chill brats. Chill beats. I don't get this. Well, what? Hello, Locomoco. What's up, Chad? How's it going? And VV Michael. Resident Weeb. Hello, Mint Jim. And Kivasho, and David, and Ripley, and Ohm the Turtle. And thank you for welcoming me to the stream, fool. Thanks for being here. And Raj, and Flax. Alilius with the 2-month resub. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, and the LED's back. This thing. We can't play Connect 4 because there's no longer any Twitch chat. But we used to have a Connect 4 game on this thing. We need to update it so that you can either join the red or the blue team. That would be fun to do. We probably won't do that today. Maybe we will. I don't know. We always get sidetracked. Hello, developer. Well, welcome, VV Michael. Thanks for being here. First time live. What's up, David? Yeah, so it started on stream. If you do !YouTube, you can get a link to my YouTube channel, and all of the stream archives are there. Basically, it was a chill Saturday, and I was like, hey, everybody, what should we do? And we voted, and everyone voted on building a Discord clone. Right now, it's very basic. It's just a super basic messaging app. And Julian, thank you very much for that 2-month resub. I appreciate you. But it's a very basic chat app right now. Today, we're going to try to allow users to create servers, have multiple channels within a server, that kind of thing. And hello, Mark, and Shaggy, what's up? And VV Michael, and Bisty. And Jan, how's it going? And Hax, hello, and David, and Keegan Zero, welcome, and Menasha Moo, what's up? Hello, Sledge Dog, I'm doing pretty good. It's a chill Saturday. Hello, SZ, and Funny Dude, and Phoenix Rising, good morning, and Titan, and Neon, and Vapo. Which should I learn first, Vue or React? It depends on how much JavaScript experience you have. If you're like really good with JavaScript, I would say React. If you're a beginner with, here's the thing, regardless of what you choose, if you choose React, it's going to make you a better JavaScript developer. If you choose Vue, you're going to get less gray hairs and build your apps faster. But React will make you a better JavaScript developer. And hello, Alex Craven. And what's up, Dean? And Snoozder. And Prawin. And Mr. Yasser. First time. Welcome. I've been watching your videos on YouTube for a month. Finally caught you live. Well, welcome, Demi. Hello, Shines Love. Do I need to manually give you the subprime? Yep. You must click a button. I'll show you that really quick. So if you do, well, you don't have to do anything, but if you go to this link, that'll tell you whether or not you have linked your Amazon Prime account to Twitch. And then once you've done that, I think there's a button down there. It is a star button. Hype train. Thank you, VV Michael. Thank you very much for that Twitch Prime sub. But yeah, you click the star, and then that does the Twitch Prime thing. But yeah, you do have to click it every month because it'll expire after a month. And thank you all for the supports. I appreciate you. Hello, Shaggy. What's up, Alka? And James Dev. And Not Ungod. And Invermath Music. And Mr. Demon Wolf. How's it going, everyone? Check out Mr. Demon Wolf. Also, Alka. They are both members of our Live Coders team. And at this very moment, there is the Live Coders conference that's happening. So if you prefer more structured and prepared content, you should definitely check it out. Twitch.tv/team/livecoders. All of the presenters have worked very hard to prepare for this conference. And currently, what's his name? I forget his name. Tell me his name. Who's that? Wait, is it in the chat? Or is it in the title? Did somebody say it? I don't know, but that person. They usually work on Dungeons and Dragons stuff. But thank you very much, The Real Pygon, for the bits. Oh, and you unlocked emotes for everyone, so that's pretty sweet. But yeah, check out the Live Coders conference. That's happening today. Click that link. Mark Miller. Code Rush. That's what it is. Code Rush. I was spaced on it. His name's Code Rush. What's up, Imphy? How's it going? And hello, Ahmed and Invermath Music. I appreciate you, Julian. Yeah, so if you sub with Twitch Prime, you must come back every month and click the button. And I appreciate you if you do click that button. Yeah, what's up, Not Blue Beast? Alex says, I'm following along with Entropy. I'm getting an error in the V on header. Login with GitHub is not a function. I could try to help. Oh, the She-Boss with the gifted sub. She-Boss, you've been gifting a lot of subs. I really appreciate you. 14 gifted subs in the channel, but congrats to Loco Moco. You can now use emotes. Let's all drop some emotes. I'm gonna drop. I'm gonna drop my head. Coding 5 head. There it is. But yeah, potentially, it's probably easier to help you if you post a message in the Discord, because then we can like get a link to your code or see your code sample to see what might be happening. But we'll see. Remind me. Yeah, I'll definitely read the issues and I'll show like the basic app once we spin it up. Hello, Mint Jim and MD Legend, and hello, Joey Devs and Jitter Ted. How's it going? Jitter Ted is also a member of our Live Coders team. Check him out. What's up, Jonesy? How's it going? Jim McDonald. I like your avatar. Why is this not working? I don't know. It's not working. Well, thank you, Varun. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Hello, She Dot. She Dot. Shout out to She Dot is the person that created the animation in the intro screen. And thank you, David, for those 50 bits. Oh, you got it. Nice. But when we're on this scene here, they created the GIF with the Denver skyline and the animated thing here, and then the opening scene for that lo-fi hip-hop thingy. And hello, Tempor and Kuzi. How's it going? If I want to make a program, is Python or Java the best thing? If you're a total beginner, Python's probably a lot easier than Java, but both of those things, you're going to need to set up an IDE and install the language runtime. Yeah, if you want a really, really easy way to get started, just go to codepin.io and make some apps right in the browser. GIF. You all stop it. That's how I pronounce GIF. And thanks for the follows, Anil and Elias. Welcome, welcome. And RRDPC, welcome. And thank you to Raronis. Thanks for being here. We got a couple of rewards. Cheers to Reekster for that hydrate. Today we are drinking, again, I think I was drinking this last time, a citrus and green tea sparkling water. CodePin. I'll send you the link really quick. And thank you for that stretch, Molgort. Yeah, and I see that link to javascript.info. Definitely, that's like a really good list and breakdown of a bunch of JavaScript things to learn. So yeah, that's a good resource. My main suggestion is don't pick just one resource. Like, there are plenty and plenty of really good resources online, and use what works for you. Yeah, and thank you for those bits, Phoenix Rising, much appreciated. And thank you, Granite, for that follow. Also, if you all could help me today, I want to attempt to remain chill and level-headed. I don't want to get mad about people asking about like the inventory app or people telling me that I'm doing things in the wrong way. I'm going to do my best, and if you can all just help reinforce that I'm doing my best, that would make me feel a lot better. Yeah. I don't have a fiber backup yet, but my internet is working again. Thank you for that focus mode. We'll use that focus mode to do an overview of the app. A programmer is the person that turns tea into code. Or coffee. I like it. Cool. The reason I laugh is because yesterday we were talking about certain people say like there's a difference between coders and programmers, and I'm just saying it's a word. And the real Pygon with the gifted subs. Thank you so much. 5 gifted subs. Congrats to Happy Jojo and Salman and Chas Gracias and Differ Dev. Oh man. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, and Muleshul Twitch. Hey, Infomath. I told you not to do that. Make Connect for Twitch chat versus Entropy chat. Ah, I like this idea, Doc. Remind me later if I forget it. So the thing is, like, I never really seem mad, but I'm just kind of, like, frustrated with myself. Like, I get caught up in, like, listening to the chat too much and not just doing my own thing. And, I mean, I'm still having a good time. I'm still laughing, but it's better if I remain calm and just do what I need to do. Javascript.com. And hello, how's it going? I'm now learning React, but I have a problem. Because of Beautify, when I save a file, it formats the JSX weirdly. Simple fix. Ripley with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're all too kind. Too kind. We're just getting started. Oh, man. Pog. Can we get some heart emotes in the chat? Because there's a whole lot of love here today, and I appreciate you. Heart. But quick fix Mark is instead of naming the file .js, name the file like app.jsx or or my component name .jsx, and if the name of the file is .jsx, your editor will know how to format it better. You may not be able to use Beautify. You might have to install Prettier, but that's the quick tip. Quick tip. And thank you so much, DrillPygon, for those gifted subs. So if you subbed with Twitch Prime, you do have to come back and click that button again in a month. But if you did a regular sub, then it auto-renews, and you can cancel it if you don't want it to renew. Would stateless API server that queries to a database like Firestore make sense? Yeah, why not? And thank you very much, Ripley, for that gifted sub. Congrats, Mr. Demon Wolf. 1,000 bits! Level 4, wow. I think it's been a while since we hit level 4, I think. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I appreciate you. I think this is totally fine. One of the things about Firebase and Firestore is if you're using it as just a client-side technology, it's really easy to get the database rules wrong, and then you have a very insecure database that anybody could open up the dev tools and like figure out and get data from. But if you don't expose Firestore on the client side and just use it on the server, then you don't have to worry about that, because then it's just like a regular database that only your backend can talk to. Thank you for the bits. Real bits from the more bits from the real Python and nothing as is. Thank you so much. But yeah, totally doable. However, if you do that, you're losing out on all of the real-time functionality of Firebase, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I think it's okay. I'm doing my best. Thank you, Robin. What's up, Robin? Keep calm, sir. You're a beautiful person. Keep up the good work. Now chill. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And hi. Hype train. What got me into programming? I've been interested in computers and technology all of my life. So before I learned how to program, I built computers from scratch and learned about all the parts and the pieces of a computer. And then in school, I was like the resident computer troubleshooter. And I always, like, I knew how to fix computers and I knew how to install programs and configure them, but I never knew how to actually write my own. And I always wanted to, because I knew all of that stuff, I wanted to go a bit deeper and learn how to actually make those things. Well, that's the main thing, but I've been doing it since I was a kid. Long time. Thank you so much for those gifted subs. Pug! I don't get what's happening. So right now we're on what's called a hype train. Some people call it a scam train because it's a way that it incentivizes people to provide support to me or whoever the streamer is who has the hype train going. So when someone gives bits, they're actually giving me money. When someone subs, they are giving me money on a monthly basis. And so right now, we are at a level 5, which is amazing, by the way. We're at a level 5. And if we get a total of 6 subs or 3,000 bits, we will beat level 5. That's what's happening. I'm not mad. Yeah, thanks for helping out, everyone. All right, I'm almost caught up. Watch it happen. It did. It happened. More bits. Thank you very much, David, for those 50 bits. All the love. Does competitive matter at all that dynamic programmers and pathfinding algorithms? We have made it. Thank you so much, the Real Pygon. That's a ton of support, Real Pygon. The bits and the gifted subs. I think we made a level 5. We made it happen. Level 5. Great work, everyone. I'm not sure what you're asking here, Mo. Dynamic programmers and pathfinding algorithms. I think I sort of get what you're asking. Like, do you need to know how to do these things? And thank you very much, Nothing As Is, for those bits. And Minishamu for the 100 bits. But what you're asking is, like, for something on, like, Code Clash, or even some of the Code Wars katas, if you can't figure them out, does that mean you're bad at coding? No. Like I've shown before, there's a lot of things that you really... Funny dude with the gifted subs. 197%. Thank you very much, funny dude. Congrats to all those people that got gifted. But the skills that it takes to like build a usable website that provides users with something useful is very different than the skills required to implement computer science style algorithms. So it doesn't mean you're bad at coding. It just means you need to practice that skill. That's all that means. I'll take a gifted. Calm down. Thanks everyone. Hello. I'm still 4 minutes behind, but thank you, Neophyte. Thank you for that follow. 1,000 bits is $10. Yeah, one bit is 1 cent. Instafluff love. Yeah, and I think Instafluff is going to be giving a talk. 4 p.m. Eastern is 2 p.m. my time. So in about an hour and a half, InstaFluff is going to be giving a talk at the Live Coders Conference. Thank you so much for that level 5. Look, 20 subs! 20 subs and 3,700 bits. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. One more than 999 bits. Don't break the rule. I'm catching up. Yeah, if you do !entropy, you'll get a description of what we're doing. And once the hype train's done, I appreciate you all. I'm going to acknowledge all of you. We'll get caught up on the chat, and then we'll take 8 minutes to just review what Entropy chat even is. And then we'll try to write some code. Yeah, hearts, everyone. I'm a level 3 Microsoft technician. Nice. That's good. Kubernetes or Docker? So Kubernetes uses Docker under the hood. You would really be comparing like Kubernetes and Docker Swarm, because those are, what's the word? Orchestration tools. So Kubernetes is a way of orchestrating many different Docker containers, and Docker Swarm does a similar thing. But I have no preference over either of them. I haven't really worked with them that much. Yeah, I'll talk about the stack real quick whenever we do the review, but it's an Electron app built with Vue, and the backend is Node, Express, and Mongo using Feathers.js. Yeah, and so when you give 500 bits, I get $5, and the extra money there, so the $1.49 goes to Twitch. So you're paying on the front end for the fee, so that I get money. Thank you all for those bits. Yeah, Scam Train. Nice. When they give you bits, they send money also to Twitch. Yeah, exactly. So like I just mentioned, they're technically paying Twitch ahead of time. I mean, Twitch has to make money too. They're a big company, but they're providing this website that you're on right now. They're providing the servers that are running the chat and the streaming and all that stuff. So they got to get paid somehow. And thank you again for the bits, everyone. Oh, nice. That's good. That's good to hear. Dino's pretty fun. I was really hyped about it, like when version 1 came out, and I haven't like touched it since, but I definitely should. Thanks again for the bits. Appreciate you. We're almost caught up. We're 3 minutes away. There's no team for Golang. Yeah, we've talked about it before. So right now, like, not all of the teams that people want are supported, so we need to find a way to add multiple or new teams. So yeah. 150. Entropy is literally profitable. I mean, I don't think people are gifting and giving bits because of Entropy, but it's technically true. We're getting funded by Twitch chat. Thank you, Messachar. Thank you for that follow. Train. Are these Boga trains? I need to add like a way to see what an emote is in my overlay over here. Hello, Alex. Welcome. Yeah. Jonah Joe, what's up? Nice. Great work, everyone. And Stefan, thank you for that follow. That's not how percent works. You mean more than 100%? 1 bit is 1 cent, I think, right? Right? Yeah, US dollars. Yeah, I'm trying my best. The thing is, after a while, it becomes too much, but we're just getting started. I've somehow been streaming for 30 minutes. I mean, there was 10 minutes of intro music, but we're just getting started. I like to welcome everyone. Yeah. Why aren't I joining the conference? I'm not that great at prepared talks. I mean, I can do them, but I really prefer unscripted content. And that's just my style. It takes a lot of work to prepare a talk and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I've mentioned my partner. Yeah, she's a tech lead. She's a programmer. She has like maybe 3.5-4 years of programming experience. And it's a she. She's a she. And yeah, she's a programmer. Funny Dude says, I taught web design for 10 years at university, and you're a great teacher, very patient and passionate. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Funny Dude. And thanks for all the supports, too. I really appreciate it. And Hayam, thank you for that follow. Mac. Can I get bits without paying? They used to allow you to watch ads, and then you could get bits for watching ads. I don't know if you can do that anymore. Yeah. What's up, Crayophonic? Oh, we got two focus modes. Cool. So I'm putting those in the parking lot, and we will do 16 minutes of focused introduction to what Entropy Chat is after we get started. Hello. Yesterday's raid chain was awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. No, so we got raided by Kitboga last week, but my internet died for a completely unrelated reason. I was actually like very paranoid at first that it was related to the raid somehow. But the technician came out on Wednesday. He fixed it. It was actually a fiber issue at the junction box. And then yesterday when we got raided, my stream went down for some people the moment we got raided because Twitch turned on transcoding. And so like if you look at my channel, my VODs, it's now 2 streams instead of just 1 because there was like a blip. But the raid was awesome. There's lots of Boga friends here today, which is awesome. And we raided CM Griffin last time because my internet went down, and we raided him this time too. And I think all the Boga friends enjoy CM Griffin. And he has like an extremely chill stream. It's a good place to be. Yeah, it was fun. And hello, Bisty. Yes. Boga Train. I don't have a startup. I work at a software consultancy. Yeah, I think there are certain words that have a lot of baggage associated with them, and if we can change things to help with that, I think that's fine. It doesn't bother me that we're renaming it, and the main reason is that this comes from the idea of master slave. And in technology, like if you've ever worked with hard drives or you ever talk about like the main and the backup, they use the terms master slave, and that actually comes from slaves having masters. And so there's a lot of baggage there. So renaming it, I think it's totally fine. And yeah, that's it. Why not? It doesn't hurt anything. Update your scripts if it's going to break your code. Oh yeah, Iconify has a lot of teams and stuff. Well, actually, what's up, Raphael? The best streamer on Twitch, regardless of topic. Well, thank you, Alex Craven. I don't know if that's true. It's definitely not true, but I appreciate you. What's up, Sivas? Sequelize is okay. I've used it in a few production apps. There are things I don't like about it. What do I not like about it? I don't know. But I like Objection, and we're using Objection for this app, so I'll talk about it. Would I be a guest on Kit Boga stream? What's up, Boga? Hey. I would not be opposed to it. I don't know what we would do. It'd be fun to build some things, because if you ever watch Kit Boga stream, he has like a fake banking website, and he's done. He might have like a browser extension on Amazon, so he can make it look like he's added things to his cart, and he's actually like bought them, and then that's hooked into his fake bank account, so it makes it look like his balance goes down. So that would be fun to build stuff like that with him. But I don't know if he's open to that, but that would be fun. And thank you for that Hydrate Frozen Spray. Boga, hey. What was my first programming language? It was probably PHP. When I was a kid, I was like either 14 or 15. I made a MySpace phishing script, and the backend was built with PHP, and I made a redirect embed with ActionScript and Flash. Yeah. Quick stretch. Hacker CJ, yeah. But the thing is, back then I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I found some scripts that people had written online, and I modified them for my own purposes, but I barely knew what they were doing. Yeah, it was very odd. Very odd. Hack yourself for... No, I haven't heard of that. I'll search it. I'll duck it. Quack it. Oh, he had a power outage? That's unfortunate. Yeah, shout out Florin Pop. I think it's Florin Pop 17. Yes, that's him. He was a streamer on Twitch. Oh, sorry, a streamer on YouTube, and he came over to Twitch just like I have. Boga hey. Boga hey. Yeah, perfect timing. Like when my internet dies. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like it. Is that the gopher in a spacesuit? That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's no limit. We need to fix that. I'm still behind on chat. We got to get started. It's a just chatting stream for like the first hour anyways. And thank you for that follow, Thrylos. Very much appreciated. And Anish, thank you. Yeah, main is fine. Yeah, I mean, and this is to that talk about how GitHub is renaming the master branch. There are a lot of things that have a lot of baggage associated with them. And the original like origin of the word is like from like racism, like a blacklist and a whitelist. Like, why is it that a blacklist is bad and a whitelist is bad? Because racism. So yeah, I think it's totally fine to rename those things, because I'm here because of Kit's raid, back again to see some code. Nice. We'll try to code very soon. Thank you, Demi. Appreciate that. Python's cool. I used to do some Python. With some like high performance computing stuff, but I haven't touched it in a while. What's the drop for the McDonald's logo? Somebody might have a McDonald's emote, because you can drop any emote. Yeah. Okay, so if you haven't heard of the Coding Train, he's awesome. He's on YouTube. And about 2 years ago, I was watching his stream, and he enabled YouTube memberships. And I was like, of course. I just clicked the button, and then when my name popped up in his stream, he was like, oh, Coding Garden, everyone should check out Coding Garden. So somehow he had found me on YouTube before we had even met or anything like that. So he found me, and then after a while we just we had talked about doing a collaboration, and then I was living in New York City, and that's where his studio is, and then I got to go onto his show. And then a couple months ago, we did a remote collaboration, which was pretty fun. But somehow, the YouTube algorithm allowed him to find me, and that's how we met. Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah, because the master branch is just a convention, right? Because at work we use develop as our main branch, and sometimes we don't even have a master branch. Sometimes we have a branch called production. So it's really just a convention. But yeah, I try to make coding fun. Yeah, I mean, you can say this, but what I would say is if you are a white person, educate yourself, because there is a very there's a ton of history and baggage, and a lot of things that you can just maybe you decide you just want to brush it off, but you really shouldn't, because it's serious and it affects a lot of people. So sure, like we shouldn't change the name of everything just because it offends people, but there are certain things where we can draw the line and we should change. That's just my opinion. That's what I think. Yeah, it's probably for new I don't really know the details of how they're going to do it. I'm way behind on chat. We're going to get there. I have a degree in computer science, yeah. And then I actually taught at a coding boot camp for about 3 years. And hello, Marlon, welcome. If you changed your picture, it's going to take 30 minutes for it to update. Yeah, 30 minutes to update. The refresh user command actually isn't implemented for my overlay here. And cheers, Chief Mostardo. All right, we're way behind. It's okay. I mean, this could literally be the entire stream. It's just me catching up on chat. I'm gonna have to scroll really fast. What's up, Ed and Web Dev? Yeah. It's possible, like, but I think the name does come from like the master branch, which is the main one and the important one, versus the slave branch, which is like a backup, potentially. Yeah. I'm gonna start learning Python. What text editor should I start with? VS Code will work, and I use VS Code for JavaScript. There's also PyCharm, which a lot of people like to use. Exactly, yeah, and there's a lot of, like, potentially, I mean, not potentially, it's, they use the word man, because for a long time, women didn't have the same rights. I don't know, we are an evolving society. We gotta change with the times, and as people get woke and realize. I'm not familiar with that particular case. I don't know what happened in it. But all of it's bad. All of it's like police brutality. I'm sure Yeah, I don't know the specifics of that one. There's Elijah Elijah McClain. It happened here in Colorado. He was from Aurora. But I was reading about that story last night, and it was just ridiculous. Like, the only thing he did wrong, I'm talking about Elijah McClain, is he was walking with a ski mask on. That's all he was doing. He wasn't inciting violence. He wasn't harming anyone. He was just walking down the street with a ski mask, and he ended up dying because of police intervention. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yeah. And these are not, I mean, I'm just catching up. Okay, let me catch up. I'll catch up. Thank you, Unfed Streams. Appreciate that follow. Schiffman is awesome. Yeah, he's a great dude. Productivity tips. Not really. I'm a huge procrastinator. All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm missing your message. We gotta get caught up. We gotta go. Oh, I see. When you do get init. Yeah, that makes sense. How do you install the Twitch Electron chat thingy? Oh, right now I'm just running this locally. I actually haven't distributed it as like a full Electron app. Yeah. Oh yeah, release, pre-release, QA. That makes sense. Prod, UAT, dev. Yep. The thing is, there are a lot of projects that don't even use master. So yeah. All right, Jolitter, that's okay. If that is how you feel, then you probably shouldn't be here. That's all. That's it. I do not apologize for saying that. Like, if you are a white person and you are not aware of the history of black people in our country, specifically America, a white person in America, then that's on you. Yeah. What's up, Gosu Teddy? Yeah, no, and that's the thing, because people on this particular topic were saying, like, oh, we're going to change master degrees now. No, because master degrees, the root of that word is mastery, because you have mastery over a subject, which is very different from master slave. Yeah, and what's up, Apina? And hello, Cop. Thank you for that follow. Yeah, haters gonna hate. Yeah, just because it's not offensive to you doesn't mean it's offensive to you. So here's the thing, like, it is extremely hard to offend me. Extremely. Like, you can, yeah, it's just really hard, but I understand that other people have a totally different life experience leading up to the point where you potentially offend them. So yeah, I understand that. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Doc. We're still 3 minutes behind. Yeah. I'm trying. Okay, give me a second. The drop game is called Seedling Drop. I'll show that really quick, because shout out to Instafluff. If you check out Pixel Plush Dev, he has created a lot of overlay games, and one of them, well, you can check out the retro one, which is black and white. I believe, I don't know if this is for sure, but I believe this was in support of Black Lives Matter. But this was from the origins of where my drop game came from. He used to have one called Seedling Drop. Oh no, sorry, Penguin Drop. And then he made this one. But you can check out his game studio. And he's going to be giving a talk on the Live Coders Conf in about an hour. So check him out. Shout out Instafluff. There you go. But yeah, this one you can just add very easily. Mine, it is open source, but there's a lot of setup because I have a custom backend server. But I did build it on stream. So if you search YouTube for Coding Garden Twitch overlay, you can actually see me build this thing. And there's the code if you like it. Yeah. We're not done with any of the apps that we've worked on before. We will eventually revisit them, including the home inventory app. Yeah. There's an LED command that we re-added here. Now, Jolitter, you gotta be nice. You can't say things like this. And if you're saying that you shouldn't educate yourself, then you are the person that's being blatantly ignorant, because ignorant means that you are unaware. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean you can't learn. Ignorant means that you are unaware of things. And if you are not aware of the history of black people in our country, then you're ignorant to that fact. Stop it. Stop it. Define drop. Oh, I like that. Thank you, Infi. Thanks for that command. And feel free to we talked about it in the mod channel, but feel free to update the VS Code command too. What's up, Chris Wolf? Thank you for that follow. That's beautiful. Great description. All right, we're almost caught up. So hopefully no one will be offended if I just scroll really, really fast. Keep calm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, the She-Boss. And Outermost, thank you for that follow. All right, we're almost caught up. Yeah, here's the thing. Like, PHP has been around for a very long time, and so there is a lot of bad PHP code out there, and that's where PHP gets the bad rap. But there's also modern PHP, and you can write good PHP that way. I don't know that much about it, but I would say check out Laravel. It's one of the things I've heard most about, and it's a PHP framework. So yeah. Git is there are a few commands that you can know and run, and you can be totally efficient with Git. But then there's a lot more, and thank you very much, Phoenix Rising, for those bits. But then there's a lot more that you can dig deeper on, like branching and rebasing, and you don't really have to know about all that. I don't know. I will say Git is definitely learnable as a beginner programmer. I'll say that. Yeah. Thank you for the stretch, Chris Wolf. All right, I'm feeling like we're almost caught up. We're gonna get there. Well, don't take that as a challenge, because this is a family-friendly stream. We try to keep it family-friendly in here. Yeah, so we're not done. Probably next weekend we'll work on the home inventory app. And hello, Ludol. Welcome. Yeah. Just press home and scroll to the beginning. Why is there a breadboard? Okay, I'll explain that and then we'll get started. Thank you for the hydrate, Smiley. Much appreciated. Happy Saturday. Well, thank you, cops. Much appreciated. Did Shaggy get banned? Don't ban Shaggy. Shaggy's a VIP here. Okay, yeah, come on. This is not a Q&A session. We're just saying hello to everyone before we get started. But hello, Mr. Syntax. No, I agree. There are a lot of things that happen in the United States, like Fahrenheit and miles, that don't really make sense, and we should probably switch to the metric system. So, yeah. But that doesn't mean I know the metric system. I just need to learn it. The most dangerous thing is not knowing what you don't know, for sure. All right, here we go. I hate to do this, but we're all the way at the top. We do have another redemption. What is that about? That's a bug. And then we have two focus modes. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to take 16 minutes to just talk about what is Entropy App, because that's what we're actually doing. Start coding. I'm about to. Cool. So if you do !entropy in the chat, you can get a link to the GitHub repo and a link to the landing page. And I'll show you what it is. Oh, because I made it, you can't update it? Really? Remove command? Editor. There we go. So, Infi, try adding the editor command. I'll also remove the VS Code command. I spelled it wrong. Remove command. Remove haters. Oh. Cool. Thank you, MP. All right. Awesome. We're gonna do. Let me get some tabs open, and then we'll get everything going. There's also the website. There's that. I think that's enough. Cool. All right. We're gonna do 16 minutes of focus mode. There's no need to enable emote only. We'll just keep the chat scrolling. And for those of you that were wondering about the LEDs, you can do !LED followed by 8 zeros or 1s, and it will turn on the corresponding bit. So if I do 0, 1, 4, 5, 6, wait, 2, 4, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, if I do that, we should see every other one turn on. Cool, so you can do that. All right, we're going to go into focus mode, and we're going to talk about why we're here today, which is Entropy Chat. Okay. So Entropy Chat is something we started... I can look at the commits. Let's see the very first commit for Entropy Chat, which was on May 16th. Which is about a month ago. But we had a chill stream on a Saturday. We did some polls in the chat. We were like, hey, what should we work on? And ultimately, the winner of those polls was that we should build a Discord clone. So Discord is a messaging app. If you're on Twitch, you probably know what Discord is. But the GitHub repo is here. And the stack for this, the front end is an Electron app with Vue.js. But that Vue.js app can also be built and run on the web. So I'll show that. The back end is written with Node and Express and Feathers.js. And the logos, these beautiful logos, were designed by She.Mo. So and it was a really fun stream because we basically voted on the idea, and then within a few minutes, She.Dot sent a message in the chat that was like, hey, what do you think of this logo? And I was like, oh, this logo is awesome, let's use it. And then since then, She.Dot has also created more assets like custom icons that fit that theme. And in the same stream, there was a message from Conrad who created some initial designs in Figma that was like, oh, the landing page should look like this, and this is what the UI should look like, and this is our color palette and the themes that we should use. So that was really cool. And so it's very community focused in that I'm open to anyone creating pull requests and contributing to this, and we're gonna work on it today. There are some issues, but before I do that, let's just start it up locally. So I'm gonna go into the server, and I believe there is a Docker container. Yeah, I need to start up Docker. This Docker. Hello, Dr. Hakuna. I see your message. We're in focus mode. It's kind of hard for me to see. Okay, Docker is starting, but I'll do a quick walkthrough of the code while that's happening. So, the backend server is written with this library and framework called Feathers.js. So Feathers.js is a backend framework for building real-time applications. And when you're working in a chat application, that's real-time, right? Because you send a message, and the person on the other end sees that message instantly, right? So Feathers allows us to do that. Under the hood, it uses socket.io. But Feathers allows us to structure our app in a way where we write generic service code, but then that service code can be exposed as a socket API, a WebSocket API, or even a RESTful API. It's really cool. I like it a lot. So that's our backend. And we do have a Docker file, which just spins up our Node.js server. And if we look at our Docker Compose, we have a MongoDB, which it just pulls from the Mongo image. We have this API server. And then they're all connected together with a bunch of environment settings. So the Mongo database name, the host, the port. Right now we have login with GitHub, so we have the GitHub client ID and secret, and all that good stuff. So that's our Docker Compose file. Docker is now up and ready, so let's try to spin this up. I'll do Docker Compose up. Now, one issue, I need to be in the server folder, but one issue that happened last time, it's going to happen this time, is the database takes a little bit longer to spin up than the front end. So the apparently it just instantly worked. So it just so happened that the database was able to spin up and the API was able to spin up and they were able to connect. We can see Feathers application started, and that's coming from our API container. And then the database got an authenticated request. We see that log there. So it's up and running. If we look at localhost 3030, we should see the server landing page. Right now it just says go home because this server landing page is used for the OAuth flow. So I'll show that in a second. But this is our backend. This controls the database. This controls all of the API endpoints, all of that good stuff. Now we need the front end. That's the thing that the user actually uses. And that is an Electron app. So we're going to go into the client folder. And we should be able to do let me see what tasks I have. Probably npm run electron serve. Do this. And so this is going to start up an Electron app. So Electron is a way of building desktop applications that use JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. So you don't have to learn any like native language like C# or C++ or anything like that. You can just use web technologies to build an app. And as you can see, it actually is running an embedded Chromium instance. So we actually have access to the dev tools here. But you can see it's not running in my browser. This is just like a separate application. And then there is this button I can click here to attempt to log in with GitHub. Let's try it. It might actually break. There's some things I might need to fix, but let's see. Log in with GitHub. Okay, so that launches a pop-up window where I need to log into GitHub. Give me 1 second while I do that. Cool. And because I've already authorized this application, it was able to just close the window and send the message. However, now I'm just in a loading state forever. So one thing I think I need to fix is the column. Thank you very much for those 100 bits. Yeah, the loading icon is great. She.dot worked on that loading icon as well. But it's broken right now. And I think the main issue is, so when we do that OAuth flow, we pop up the window, we log in with GitHub, that redirects to our backend, and then our backend attempts to communicate with the Electron app that opened it. It sends a message that says, hey, the user's now logged in, here's their token. But that's not working right now because the origin is wrong. So let me see, if we look at that landing page here, yeah, so the origin here is set to 8080, but because I'm streaming, I have like a million different things running, and I'm pretty sure I already have something running on port 8080. Let me check. Yeah, this thing. But I need to change this, I think, to 8081, which is the... Nope, that's the wrong one too. What about 8082? 8083? Yeah, that is Entropy chat. There we go. So this is an issue that only I'm going to have because I have a million different services running locally. But what I need to do is when that GitHub pop-up logs in, or when that GitHub pop-up happens, it needs to communicate back to port 8083, which is where the client is running. So let's try that again. I'm going to refresh this page, click Login with GitHub, and now this pop-up window should be able to communicate with port 8083. There we go. And as you can see, now it's just a super basic app. It's just a very simple chat app. I'm logged in as me from GitHub. I can send messages. They appear on the screen. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And right now it's just me because I'm running it locally. But eventually we will deploy the server. We worked on that last time. We didn't actually. We did get the container deployed last time. But this is the app. It's running locally. And what we want to do today is we want to make it so that messages are grouped into specific channels, and channels are grouped into servers, just like you see on Discord, because right now it's just one big message feed. And we want to be able to allow users to create new servers and have multiple channels within there and all that good stuff. So this is the basic app. Oh yeah, and Column, check your responses. So yeah, this is the basic Entropy app, and what we're going to do today is make it better. We're going to add servers, channels, all that good stuff. And if you have suggestions, all that good stuff, you should definitely open an issue or comment on an issue or open a pull request. But Column did open a PR, but I had some comments on it. So check out the comments. The main comment was there were some formatting changes in files that didn't need to be touched. So if you fix that, I will merge your pull request. And what we're going to be doing today, I'll try not to make these changes, so that way once you get this pull request ready to go, I can just merge it in. And for those of you that are new to pull requests, this is a way for other people to suggest code that should be merged into my code base, right? So the code that I'm showing you right now is just this, but on GitHub, you're actually able to fork it, which means make a copy of it, make some changes, and then make a pull request, which says, hey, I made these changes. It's going to make your app better. or give it features or fix a bug, and then I have the option to potentially merge those changes back in. So that's great. We also have quite a few issues. Yeah, no worries, Callum. As long as you fix it, I'll be able to merge it. So we have some issues. We were working on deployment last time, and I think this is where I got a little bit discouraged because I'm not the best and I'm not the most up to date on DevOps, and so there were a lot of people in the chat that were just telling me that I was doing it wrong. I will give you one update on my deployment though. If you check it out, you can now see that we actually have the Entropy chat API available as a Docker container. Yeah, DevSecOps, CJ. So what I was able to do is build an image with the API. And that created like a Docker image file. I pushed that image file up here to GitHub, and then now on the deployed server, instead of having all of the source code, it just pulls down this image and starts it up. And that's really the preferred way to do it, because then you don't have to have node install, you don't have to install all the dependencies, everything is self-contained within this image. So that's great. I think that's the majority of things. I saw something from Doc. What did Doc say? Will there be a database design doc? Yeah, so I'll show you right now. We have like a basic README that just says, I think I called it, what did I call it? Schema. We were just initially brainstorming what's the kind of data that we're going to need to store for this thing. So right now, the only thing that we've implemented are messages and users. But we're going to expand upon that now and make it so that a message belongs to a specific server and channel. And then a server channel belongs to a specific server. A server can have many members. A server can also have many invites, so you can invite people to servers. And then the admins of a server, or basically these are like mods, are the users that are allowed to delete messages or create channels. And one thing we decided for simplicity is right now, anyone that is an admin basically has full server owner, well, there is an owner ID, but what we were saying is they have full privileges to delete messages, create new channels. Eventually, we can start to add a permission model that's similar to Discord, where you can say that mods are allowed to delete messages, but they're not allowed to create channels. Right now, we're going to keep it very simple. We're just going to say, if you are an admin, basically you're a mod, you can create channels, you can delete messages, you have full control over that server. And then we already have the users going. So we could probably turn this into an entity relationship diagram, but for the most part, this is kind of all that's done right now, and we need to go from there. And I'll show you the backend code really quick. So the Feathers groups things into services. And so right now we have a service that is the messages service. And so whenever I'm in this UI here and I send a message, that makes a request to the messages service and says, please create a message. The messages service receives that, puts it into the database, and then it emits a socket.io event that says, a message has been created. Anybody else that's listening, please show this latest message in your UI. So that's how all of that works. And if we look, there is a messages model as well. So right now we say that a message has text, which is the content of the message, and then a message also has a user ID, which is the person that sent that message. What we're going to do today is we're going to associate this not only with a user, but also with a server and a channel. But we'll probably have to start at the channel level first so that users can create channels. So we'll do that. Am I missing anything? Anything else I should mention? What are questions that you have about all of this before we try to start writing some code? And I'll do a quick once over of the GitHub issues before we jump too far into it. Quick pause. And thanks for all the follows. From quite a few of you. Gargoyle, Enigma, thank you for that follow. And Westar, thank you for the follow. Ole, thank you for the follow. And Sir Okay, thank you for that follow. And Mr. Hubba Bubba, thank you for the follow. And Blaine, thank you for the follow. And Yo-Yo Shyorsh, thank you for the follow. And Zohandi. And Blue Ghost, thank you all for those follows. I appreciate you. And what happened? Oh, we got a stretch. Thank you, Heldoradono? Heldoradono, thank you for that stretch. There's that. There's this. Okay. What DB are you using? Mongo. We're using MongoDB. And so in that file that I'm showing you here, we're using a library called Mongoose. Mongoose is a database driver for Node.js to talk to Mongo databases. And MongoDB is actually a no schema or a NoSQL database where you just have documents and you can put whatever you want in there. But Mongoose adds a little bit of structure on top of that. So we can actually define our schema ahead of time and say messages that go into the messages document store must have a text property and must have a user ID property. So Mongoose allows us to basically put structure on top of MongoDB. Now, a lot of people don't like that, but it's very easy to get up and going, and we're just going to use this. We mentioned it last time. We're not trying to scale with this thing. We're trying to build an app that works, and also that teaches and shows people an example of how you can build an application like this. We're not trying to scale to billions and billions of users or anything like that. Yeah, it's Mongo. What's the thing timestamp? Is timestamp true? Yeah, so with Mongoose, that's built into that Mongoose library that I was talking about. This automatically adds an updated at and created at property to each document in this document store. And hello, paranoid Android. I would like to ask, will I make a tutorial for full stack software as a service? Potentially not. I haven't really done many things with like software as a service. Most of the apps that I've built could be turned into something that's software as a service, but I've never really done that. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Am I going to keep messages as text only? Yeah, I might actually allow Markdown. I don't know. We can talk about that. Right now, it's gonna stay super basic. It's just gonna be text. If we start to allow like uploading images and embedding images, it gets tricky, right? With moderation and all that stuff, and also like where do we host the images? But if we allow Markdown and you can link to an image that's hosted elsewhere, that could be easy enough. We'll see. I'm in a software engineering this class, and we just learned about NoSQL. I'm in love. The thing is, like, it's really, really easy to get up and going with a NoSQL database. But you'll potentially... The thing is, we're using this NoSQL database like a SQL database, because as you saw in my schema description, these collections actually are related to each other, right? Because a message has a sender ID, a channel ID, and a server ID. In SQL, these would be foreign key constraints that are... what's the word? Enforced. They're enforced by the SQL database itself. Whereas in our scenario, these are only enforced by the Mongoose library that we're using. So if somebody made a direct query to the Mongo database, it would not enforce these foreign relationships. But like I said, this is easy. That's why we're doing it. Yeah. I've tried the native one. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't support promises out of the box, so it's a little cumbersome to deal with. But yeah, I have. Web scale. Hello, DS Legends. What's up? DevNull as a service. Yeah, so software as a service is, think of Google Apps like G Suite. So if you work at a company where all of the people at your company have an email with Google, I mean, it might be a custom domain, but when you go check your email, you're actually logging into Gmail, and you use Google Docs, but it's restricted to your specific company. That is software as a service. So Google has created this software that lives on the web, and your company pays a monthly price or monthly fee to be able to use it for their own purposes. And there are a lot of other things like that. I mean, technically, even something like, well... It's basically a product that people pay a monthly price for. Software as a service. And typically it's multi-tenant, which is a term you've seen thrown around, but all that means is that the software most likely has built into it a way for organizations to manage users within their own organization. So something like Google Apps and G Suite, if you're the owner of that specific G Suite instance, you can manage which users get added and removed, but you're only managing that set of users. You can't manage the users in some other company. So each company that pays Google money is a tenant of that software as a service. I used to be a vegetarian, and I was vegan for a little bit, but I am a meat eater now, yeah. A basic app with backend. You can take a look at some of my Express tutorials on YouTube because they have basic APIs associated with them. As soon as you allow anything beyond plain text, you introduce all the same problems around moderation and displaying it. Yeah, you're right. A glorified IRC server. Yes. Basically, I mean, and technically we could have used some sort of open source IRC server and just put stuff on top of it, which is kind of what Twitch chat does. But yeah, we're basically building this with full stack because we have a database and all that good stuff. And thank you for the bits, DS Legends, much appreciated. Oh no! Sorry, Aaron. What's up, Alka? In my first year of informatics, I'm starting to code in C. It's been very difficult, but I'm practicing a lot. Any advice for a newbie? And greetings from Chile. Well, hello. I think like the only thing is to practice a lot. Like, and potentially like practice with purpose. Like you set out with a specific goal. You don't just like start coding and hope that you get better. You set achievable goals for yourself to get better over time. But aside from that, I don't really know. It just takes reps, takes practice. Hey, no worries, Colin. Thank you for the PR. Yep. So you technically log into the Gmail app, but you use your own email. I haven't used View Next. Yeah, technically could be you pay for the service once instead of like paying a monthly fee. It's not working? I sent a notification today, but I do. There's a lot of things I need to be working on. I plan to come back to that. VIP is just something I can award in my channel. I have a limited number of people that I set as VIP. Cool, I'll check it out, Colin. Entropy chat. What's up, Coder in Black? Right now we're not using a CSS framework. It's all just plain CSS. One thing that we did do is we attempted to, I think we're trying to use BIM, which is a way of structuring your CSS code. And we are attempting to structure it very nicely in terms of folders. So we have like our main Sass file that imports all of our variables and utilities. So we have a few utilities we created. And then we have variables like primary color and stuff like that. So this is a project where I'm trying to get better at organizing my CSS. And right now we're not using any CSS framework. Yeah, we're going to look at the GitHub issues real quick. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, you didn't get it? I'll have to double check that. That's unfortunate. Yeah. It's a framework too? I thought it was more of like a naming convention. But thank you, Jovi Jojo, for that follow. Oh, yeah, I haven't tried that. Woohoo! Hey, what's up, Bob? Thank you for that hydrate, Locomoco. Oh, BIM, there's a framework in React Vanilla. Okay. Now, let's look at the issues. So on the GitHub repo, there's some issues that were created. Like I mentioned, deployment is still in progress. I need to deploy the front end and do a release build. But the thing is, this doesn't really involve coding. This is just configuration, and I don't feel like doing that today, so we're going to skip that. HTTP2 on the Nginx server. So Nginx is how we've deployed our backend. We have a Linux server that's running Nginx that's routing and proxying requests to a Docker container. It's a mouthful, but also that has to do with DevOps, so we're not going to do that. We definitely need to work on a terms of service and privacy policy. But again, this is somewhat boring. We're going to try to write some code today. We're going to try to keep it somewhat entertaining, and you're going to see some code being written. Not CI. Basically, a lot of these things are things that we definitely will eventually need, but I'm not going to work on them today. Code of conduct, Discord bridge. Cool. Someone has an issue. Login with GitHub is not a function. Alex Craven, are you watching right now? Are you here? I thought I saw you in the chat. Let me see. If your code is on GitHub, then I might be able to take a look. If me? Oh, so you can't watch the live stream inside the app. That's unfortunate. Did you at least get a push notification? I'll have to double check that. Oh well. Alex, if you're here, I'll leave a comment. Oh, you did get a push. That's good to hear. So Alex is attempting to set this up, but they're getting an issue, so I'm just going to leave that comment here, and then we'll come back to that. What's up, Nymph? How's it going? All right, let's write some code. Yeah, no worries. Sounds good, Alex. And we are technically using GitHub Projects, which is a way of managing all of our tasks. So I'm going to create an issue for the thing that I want to work on today, which is first allow a user to create a server. So I'm going to add an issue, and then we're going to start working on that. If we think about all the things that we need, if a user has not joined any server, they should potentially be prompted to create a server. I don't know. We'll do it as we go. We'll figure it out as we go. But that's the issue we're going to be working on now. This is both back-end and front-end. So I'm going to label it with that. And then we're going to put it in the Entropy chat project. And then on the board, we can put it in progress. And we'll get started. Is everyone excited? I'm excited. We're actually going to start writing some code. So we're going to allow users to create servers. I think where we're going to start with this is to actually create a server service on our backend. So like I showed in the schema here, servers, code, yeah, we're gonna write code. Servers have a specific owner ID. So we'll set up that model. And right now we have just messages. Messages we saw just have text and a user. After we create the server model, we're gonna associate messages with a specific server. And if you're new to the coding garden, the thing is, it's kind of hard for us to get stuff done here. So it's possible that we don't have enough time to create channels today as well. But I think a good MVP is that instead of showing all of the messages just in one view, if we can at least click into separate servers, and each separate server has a list of messages, then that's a little bit better, right? Because it's not just one feed. It's kind of like having rooms. But the next step after that is each server has even more sub rooms inside of it. Ooh, more focus mode. Nice, nice. Thank you, WDBW, for that focus mode. That's pretty good. I think we can get that service set up in about 16 minutes. Everybody distract CJ. Oh, that's unfortunate, the Jibster. The weather's not too bad here in Denver today. And Whiskey, thank you for the follow. VV Michael, thank you for the hydrate. Yeah, what is this about, Majestic Eye? Oh, it's very possible, Majestic Eye, that it expired, because I have not touched the App Store in a while. Yeah, there are 2 other redemptions. That's a bug. I gotta fix that. And then in the parking lot, we currently have 2 focuses. We're about to do those. Cool, yeah. I think, sorry, I keep bumping the mic. I'm sorry, everyone. But next Saturday, we'll work on the inventory app, but maybe there'll be a stream this week where I can just try to work on the mobile app, because that'll be fun. I need 500 seedlings, then another focus mode. Nice. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Right, you just can't install the app. That's the feature. Oh, it's happening on Android too? I'm just curious. So, for those of you wondering what this is that Android? Oh, no. It's fine. But I created my own custom mobile app so that I could send a push notification when I go live, because sometimes Twitch waits like 10, 15, 20 minutes before it even sends a push notification. So eventually this will be out of alpha, and then other people can install it to get a notification when I go live. And thank you for the hydrate, Coder in Black. The app right now is just an embed of the live stream, and then you can enable or disable push notifications. That's about it. And all right, we got 3 focus modes. 4 focus modes. We're going to get some code written today. 5 focus modes. All right. What's 5 times 8? I'm bad at math. 30, 40, 38, 36, 40. 40. Can we get to? We got to 6. 8 times 5 is 40. All right, so we're gonna go into 48 minutes of focus mode. This might be the longest focus mode in the history of Coding Garden. I know. Hey, it's okay to not remember your times tables. We've got apps for that. Okay, 48 minutes of focus mode. Here we come. Wait, is this not working? Oh, it's just really delayed. I think there's a lot of chat messages. Genius struggles. I'm not a genius. Oh, yeah, I have not updated the live stream embed, so that's probably the issue. Yeah. Thank you for that, Stretch Ripley. Here we go. I saw you do a 1Q kata, and now you can't multiply 8 times 5. Well, here's the thing. I can multiply 8 times 5. I could write it on paper, but when we learn math as kids, we basically just memorize the times tables, right? We just memorize what is 8 times 5. There's a few of them that I struggle with, like 9 times 8, 8 times 5, 8 times 6 is 32. But even that one I don't remember sometimes. I don't know. I think you're a genius. Okay, I appreciate that. I've never taken a genius test or IQ test. 32. It's not 32. 48. See? I told you. 8 times 6 is 48. So I have a really hard time remembering my 8 and 5 times table. I have a really hard time. Well, that's just memorizing. I could do the math. I could write out 8. I could write out 6 8s, and then I could manually add them all together one by one. Quick maths. All right, let's start this. Oh, I totally forgot. Before we do, a little more procrastination, but not really. Thank you to everyone that has provided support so far. The She-Boss with the gifted sub. The Real Pygon with 5 gifted subs, I believe. Several gifted subs. Ripley with another 5 gifted. Funny Dude with 5 gifted. VV Michael with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you very much. Alilius with the Twitch Prime resub. Thank you for clicking that button again. And Julian with the Twitch Prime resub. Thank you very much. And all the bits. Tons and tons of bits. Real Pygon with 500 bits. David with 50 bits. Phoenix Rising with 100 bits. Funny Dude with 1,000 bits. The Real Pygon with 1,000 bits. Nothing As Is with 100 bits. David with the 50 bits. The Real Pygon with 500 bits. Nothing As Is with 300 bits. Mini Shamu with 100 bits. Phoenix Rising with the 5 bits. 500 bits. Callum with 100 bits. And DS Legends with the 100 bits. I'm going to get this server service up and going, but someone remind me to look at the pull requests when we're done with that, because we'll go ahead and merge in the changes that Callum made. All right, let's go. 48 minutes of focus mode. Hello, 201 Created. How's it going? Code review next weekend. And thank you, Random1C, for that follow. Focus mode. Here we go. So we're on the back end. Here. Let's go. Feathers has a CLI tool that you can use to generate a new service. So basically what I need, if you look at our backend code, right now I have a service for messages. I need a service for servers. It's a little confusing, but it's different. But because a user needs to be able to create a server, to add a user to a server, to send a message in a specific server. So we need a service that will handle servers. And I am actually not, I don't know how Discord actually implements this. It's very possible that Discord literally has a separate virtual private server. Yeah, basically this is a guild, exactly. So in terms of like Discord terminology, this is a guild, and that's how we're going to group messages. But if you try to create a server on Discord, you can see that they are, you can actually choose the region. so they might actually live on a separate server. But for our case, the reason we're creating a server is to group specific messages in our database. Okay, so I'm going to do feathers generate service. This is now going to ask me, what do I want to use for my database? So this is the cool thing about feathers. Don't call it a server. What should we call it? Help me come up with a name. So in Discord, they called them guilds, though I believe they changed the name. You could also call it a team. Slack calls them teams, right? A room? A guild? Group, community. Let's call it community. We could call it a garden, but I don't know if we're gonna go fully coding garden themed. I like community. Garden patch? Gardens. Chat instance. Planets. Create your entropy planet. Shrubbery. Garden or right. Loitering locations. I kind of like the idea, a container. I like the idea of community because it, the word itself has a lot of connotations. Oh, pods? That's not bad. Habitat. Create a pod. Create a garden. Bouquet? Universe. I think we'll call it a garden. Here's the thing, though. Should we call the service a... Naming is very hard, isn't it, Jitterted? Trophies? The jungle. Let's call it a community. I'm going to call it a community. That was my first idea. I'm going with community. So in Feathers, you can choose what type of database adapter you want to use. You've potentially seen me use Nginx here on stream before. That's for talking to SQL databases. You can always you can also use objection, which is a actually, earlier I said we were using objection. We're not using objection here. We're using objection on the inventory app. But regardless, I want to choose Mongoose. Then we name our service. Cassandra DB. So we're going to call it community. This is the community service. This is the community service. Wait, I thought this was democracy. It is, but I saw at least 3 people that said community was fine. Comms, a community service. We're going to call it community. What path will it be registered on? So here's the thing. I think we registered user, like we created a service called, right now we're pluralizing the name of the service, messages, users. So actually, I think I want to call this communities instead of community. So I'm going to regenerate this, and I'm going to call it communities. Now, is that how you spell communities? A bunch. Create a bunch. We're going to call it communities. Are there 2 T's in communities? Yes. All right. Does this service require authentication? I'll say yes, and basically that makes it so that only logged in users can create communities or delete communities or different things like that. Cool. It's peaceful. And it gives you an idea that this is it's a place to chat with your community, to create a community, that kind of thing. I like it. Okay, so now that we've done that, that actually has generated some code for us. We have the community's service class, hooks, and the service itself, and then we have the community's model. Let's go ahead and update this model here. So a community will have a name, and that will be required. So like on Discord, our guild is called Coding Garden, but you can name it whatever you'd like. What else does a community need? It needs an owner ID. And if we look at the messages model, we can see how they did that, or how we did that. So this has user ID. We're going to also have that here. We'll call it owner ID, because this is the owner of the community, the person that initially created it. My messages store needs a serious refactor because it's doing stuff with users and it makes me cry. I'll take a look at it. It is a community service. That's very true. Call it pigeon? Wide pigeon. Icon. Oh, I like that. Yeah, so like thumbnail URL. Let's call it icon. Icon URL. And that's going to be required because every... Well, we could set like a default image if they don't specify one, but everyone should have an icon URL. Yep. So we have the name, icon URL, who owns it. Yeah, I think avatar will work for should we call it avatar? Avatar, I thought, is usually associated with a user, though. Plant bed. I still like community. Communities. Is this all we need? Yeah, so today we are creating servers, and then we're going to group messages into servers, and we'll allow users to create servers and switch between servers. Nest. Nest is pretty cool. Server badge. I think that's like the icon URL, right? I think we're good. I think we're good. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. So this is the schema for a server. A server must have a name, an icon, and an owner ID. So that's great. Now, the pull request that Callum created actually adds the user ID to each message, and that has a dependency that we might actually use. So I'm going to go ahead and merge the pull request from Callum. So the interesting thing about this, if you're new to Feathers, is when I did generate, now we have this schema, and we actually now have a full-fledged REST API with pagination. So if I go to my server /communities, we have a full REST API. So if I go to, not GitHub, localhost, I think we're on 3030 /communities. Oh, actually, I'm unauthorized. But if I were to log in, I could then use that token to make a request, and this would just work. So generating that service gives us automatically a RESTful API. One thing that we need to do is we need to lock things down. So technically right now, any logged in user can create a server. Any logged in user can delete any other server, can update any other server, or patch, or basically you can, if you're logged in, you can do everything. And we need to write some hooks that prevent people from doing that. Does Feathers really need to have a product placement on error pages? I mean, it doesn't hurt. It's an open source project. Like, I think it's okay to let people know that this is what you're using. Cool. So I'm gonna take a look at Callum's pull request, because that has a dependency that I need. So if I merge this in, then that'd be a good thing. All right, I can see the overall files changed. 4. So remove the user ID when you're sending the message from the front end. We're adding these Feathers authentication hooks. So this is a custom hook that automatically puts the user ID. Oh, it has several custom hooks, but one of those custom hooks that we care about is it adds the current user's ID onto the entity that you're creating. So we need that. And then we can see this is how it's used. So specifically for a message, whenever a message is being created, it sets the user ID property to be the ID of the user that's sending the request. And we need to do this exact same thing for creating servers as well. So this looks good to me. They've updated their pull request. Only these 3 files have changed. So I'm going to merge it and then pull those changes down. So wait, what just happened? Thank you. Merge. All right, so that code now has been merged on GitHub. So the code that Callum updated is now in the main repo, and I can pull those changes down to my local machine. So let's do that. And I should be able to pull down without making any sort of commit. So you can see right now I've made some modifications because I created that service, but the files that they updated are not the same files that I'm working on, so I should be able to pull in the latest changes. Yeah. Oh, do I have transcoding today? That's good. Okay, so I can do git pull origin master, and nice. Nice. The reason that's nice is because I didn't have to do any merge conflicts or anything like that, but we can see that we now have the code that Callum wrote. And hopefully I'm saying your name right. Cool. But one thing I need to do is I need to install the latest dependencies and then update my Docker container for the server. So so you can see that my Docker container is dying right now. It's like, hey, I can't find this module. That's because we need to rebuild it so that way it installs the dependency. So I'm going to do docker compose build, and that will, you'll see it stops right here. Well, that doesn't stop, but it's running npm install so that it can get that latest dependency. And I'm just going to install it on my local machine as well, too. What if you pulled a file I was working on? Git wouldn't let me do that. It would say you need to commit your changes before a merge can happen. So actually, we wouldn't have gotten any merge conflicts because I hadn't committed yet. Because you can see right now, I have untracked files. These are all files that are new or changed, but I have not staged them to be committed. So yeah, cool. So that rebuilt it, and then should be able to start it back up. It still says it can't find it. One thing I found that I've had to do lately in my Docker Compose is specifically for the node modules. Yeah, so someone mentioned that we do this delegated thing, but what I found is you actually can just do... Oh. That's why. I think this should be user source app node modules. Yeah, so what that means is use the node modules inside of the container and not the ones on my machine. I think. Right? Right. All right, let's try to start it back up. Yeah, there we go. So Feathers was able to start up, but this is actually the error that I was talking about earlier, that it can't connect to the database because the database is still technically spinning up. So give the database a second. And then eventually, yeah, now it should be up. Yeah, because the database is up and running, and then the backend is up too. Yeah. The YAML makes it look so easy, but the depth of config options is a lot. Yes. That's one of the main things about learning Docker and like Docker Compose is, I mean, on the surface, you can create a very simple configuration file that just works. However, figuring out what you need to put in that file, that's where a lot of your time is consumed. Is just figuring out, yeah, how do you actually specify these things? Yeah. Thank you for that posture check, Eco Village. All right. So we've got that dependency. We can take a look at how that hook is used in the messages service. And then we'll apply that to our server, our community's service as well. I guess I don't have a linter rule for this, but I actually prefer to put spaces inside of my curly braces like that. Do we have linting set up here? Yeah, we do. Wait, why is it in a JSON file? Oh, but it's not using the Airbnb config. That's why. Okay. Yep. It's fine now. It's good enough for now. But we can see how that's used in the hooks here. So let's take a quick step back, and I'm actually going to talk about what hooks are, because Feathers is new to a lot of people. So I'll just mention really quick that I did a whole series of YouTube videos where I actually walk through the Feathers guide. So if you click on getting started and then you go into the guide, this walks you through building a very basic messaging app. What we're doing now is kind of taking it a step further. I mean, we didn't use this guide when we were building the first version of Entropy app, but if you take a look at my YouTube channel, and then there's a playlist called the Feathers Guide. Basically, this is the annotated version of this in video form. So if you want to learn more about Feathers, you can watch these videos. Check it out. But what I'm going to show you right now is hooks. And I think I have a slide deck. Who wants to see me use a slide deck? Type 1 in the chat if you want to see me to give a presentation on Feathers hooks. Or even like Feathers services. 1. All right, 2. 1 in the chat. All right, I'll do it. So we have Feathers. I don't know where all this is. +1 for learning. All right. Oh yeah, here it is. Cool. Cool. Wait. And then I have slides. Oh, look at all these slides. I actually made these slides live on stream. But let's just run this command. So reveal MD is what I use for the slides. Yeah. Oh, buddy. It's downloading. The reason it's downloading Chromium is it can actually generate a PDF of the slides. Oh, look at that. These dependencies definitely need to be updated, but that's okay. I'm just running it locally. So if I do this, slides slash... actually, let's talk about services. Let's talk about services. NPM is so scary. Feathers.js services. Okay. I guess I'm kind of in the way here. But let's talk about services. Am I'm in the way. Should I just keep it like that? Let's keep it like this. We'll keep it like this. All right, so Feathers services. So you just saw me generate a service for communities, and we already had a service for messages, and we have a service for users. Services can be used for a lot of things. In our case, we're using them for reading and writing to a database because that's where all of the data is stored. But you can have services that do a lot of other things as well. You can interact with the file system, call other APIs, send emails, process payments, get weather. So an app that I'm working on right now for work, it's a real world thing. I have a Feathers service for email verification and password reset. So those things actually talk to other Feathers services to validate users, and then they talk to helper functions which generate emails. But the idea of email reset and password verification are services themselves. So there is a post on that service which creates the password reset email and sends the password reset email. Or for email verification, there's a patch where it verifies the user's email based on a token. But services can do a lot of different things. For the most part, we use them to interact with the database, but they can do other things as well. And then each of those services has methods. So what you saw when I was showing in the hooks is, we'll talk about hooks in a second. These are basically ways to do things before a specific service method happens, or after a service method happens, or when there's an error for a specific service method. So here you can see the different service methods. So every one of your services can implement a find function, a get function, a create function, an update function, a patch function, or a remove function. And if you're implementing it yourself, it is totally up to you what each of these functions do. But as long as you have a class that has these methods on it, like right now we're looking at the hooks. I don't think I have a good example of an actual service because it's all hidden behind the scenes. Like you can see here that I'm actually using the Mongoose Adapter. So my Feathers service, it just looks totally empty, but I'm extending Feathers Mongoose, and behind the scenes, they've implemented find, get, create, patch, remove. And in the implementation of each of those functions, they're actually talking to the database. And here, technically, I could override those things if I want to do custom things when they happen. But you implement those methods, and then those methods can easily be mapped to RESTful endpoints. And your service looks like this. So find, get, create, update, patch, remove. These can do literally whatever you want. In our case, it's talking to a database, and I'm just using something that another person wrote because I didn't have to implement them myself. And then we can mount it at a specific endpoint. So we have our users service. If we talk to it on the API, it's /users. We have our messages, that's /messages. We have our communities, that's /communities. And each one of those is a service that can do all of those things. Yeah, and it doesn't have to implement all of these. I've created some custom services that only have a find method or only have a get method. I'll even mention, so like I have one app that's written in Feathers and that's in production right now, and then another one that'll be in production in about a month or two. But in both of those apps, I have a meta service. So typically, like when you're showing a user form, showing a form to a user, it has like content that's in a dropdown and stuff like that. So I have a service that only implements the find method. It doesn't implement these other methods. And in the find method, I basically talk to all of the other services to aggregate all of that metadata that's needed on the initial app load. Like the list of categories, the list of subcategories, all those things. And so that service is very special in that it talks to other services. But regardless, let's keep going. And like I mentioned, you write your code in this very generic way, and then this service instance can be exposed over a RESTful API. So incoming requests get mapped to a specific method. So like you can see, service.find gets mapped to a GET request on... Oh, I guess, do I need to zoom out? Okay, it's cut off. I don't know why it's cut off. But service.find gets mapped to a GET request on /messages, and that's like a list all. You can also pass in custom queries and use those. Service.get is like messages/ID. And then you have service.create, which gets mapped to a post request on /messages. Update is a put. Patch is a patch on messages/ID. And remove is a delete. So all of these generic functions that you implement get mapped to RESTful endpoints. Cool. And the way it works is like this. So the client, and there is a Feathers client library that allows you to automatically interact with the Feathers backend. So I'm not actually writing like Axios requests or fetch requests to talk to my Feathers backend. I can just say Feathers client.get or Feathers client.service name.put or patch, and that automatically knows how to talk to my backend. So we have our client. You have that REST handler, which I actually don't even have to touch or know anything about, but I've implemented each of the services, and then it maps those to RESTful endpoints that can be interacted with. The other cool thing, though, is that they can be mapped to socket events as well. So this is how we get the real time associated with this. So because all of our code is grouped into those specific functions, Feathers can automatically tap into when something is created or when something is updated or deleted, and it can emit events when those things happen. So whenever you create something, it emits the created event. When you update something, it emits the updated event, etc. And that allows us to now have a WebSocket handler. So with that exact same client library, I can now listen for when those events happen, like message created, message updated, and then I can do something on the client side in response to those events. But I don't have to write any specific like application specific code for sockets. I'm just using the Feathers client library, listening for those events, and behind the scenes, it's doing all the socket logic and stuff like that. Cool. And then, like I showed, we're using the Mongoose Adapter. So there's a ton of adapters that are built for Feathers. You can have an in-memory database. You can have a local JSON file with NeDB. The interesting thing about the Feathers library itself is that it can actually be used directly on the client, like the exact same library. And that's actually how the client is implemented. But the exact same library can be used in the browser and on the server. It's cheating. It definitely gives you a lot for free. I would say it gives you a boost. It's kind of like cheating, but it's less code that you have to write, which I think is great. And there are a bunch of database adapters. So you can use Connects, SQLize, Objection, Elasticsearch, Mongoose, and then there's a bunch of, like, these actually exist in the Feathers community organization, but there are third-party ones that exist as well for other databases. Cool. We saw me generate a service earlier. That's it. Services, awesome. It's a beautiful thing. If you've used my Vox website, this actually uses Feathers behind the scenes, and if you go to like if we take a look at the API behind this, so if you go to api.coding.garden/vox/populi, Vox Populi is a custom Feathers service. So this isn't using the Mongoose adapter or the any sort of adapter like that. I just wrote my own service method, because what this is doing is it's looking at all of the Twitch chats that have been sent, and then it's formatting it into this data, which is an array of questions, an array of ideas, an array of users. But behind the scenes, it's stored a different way in the database. But this is a find on the Vox Populi service. Coder in Black had a great question. Let's check it out. Let me pause focus mode, and then we'll look at some questions. I forget what the command is. Focus pause? Yeah, that's it. How do you not allow someone actions like, for example, patch? Do I have to use a hook for that throws an error? Yes, so that's exactly what I'm about to talk about. Because by default, when you generate a service, everything is completely open. I mean, it you can set it up so that it requires login. This is a hook that says you must be logged in before any of these service methods can be called. But you're exactly right. If I'm logged in, technically right now, I can remove anyone's message. Or I can update anyone's message. And so that's where custom hooks will come into play. And so inside of a before hook, I can say, if the currently logged in user's ID does not match the user ID of what the thing that you're trying to delete or update, throw an unauthenticated error. And yeah, hooks are basically that allow you to do that. They're like middleware functions. They're very similar to Express middleware functions. But how are they different? I mean, there's this thing called the context, which is kind of like your request and your response. I'll talk about it in a second. But yeah, this is a great question. Anything else? We got some follows. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Omshix, for that follow, and Zweid Zeisti, and Lost Bill, and Discarded. Thank you all for the follows. Okay. So that's services. Now let's talk about hooks. So services, you create your generic class methods. They get mapped to either RESTful endpoints or socket endpoints. And then from there, we can start to customize these services with hooks. So let me start up that slide deck. Hooks. Cool. So basically, they're like middleware functions. So let's say for your service on the find method, you first, before the request can actually happen, you want to make sure, is the user logged in? Is the user an admin? And if so, you'll do the database request. And then these are all example of before hooks. These are hooks that will happen before the database is even queried. Then you have after hooks. So these are hooks that can modify the outgoing response. So for example, if you're finding all users, you don't want to return the hashed passwords in the response. So you have a hook that removes the password from the outgoing response. Now, technically, you could update your service code that has a different query, which actually doesn't even pull those from the database, but this is just a common example of a hook that can be run. And then you can have multiple after hooks. So like in the case of creating a user, validate the user, hash the password before it gets put in, and then after a user is created, send an email to the created user. So hooks are basically a way to hook into when different things happen, different service methods get called. And they're just simple little functions. They get access to this context object, and the context object has a ton of stuff on it. Let's look at the API. Yeah, and so this is a good question from EcoVillage. Let me just talk about that, because there are a lot of other things you could compare Feathers to, like Meteor or Sails. I think where Feathers is mainly different from those two is that Feathers is really like service and backend focused. Now they do provide a client library, and it's really easy to integrate that client library to talk to your backend, but they don't tell you what you need to use for your front-end technology. It's just a JavaScript library. You could use it with Vue, React, Angular. You could use it with anything. So it's very simple in terms of that. Whereas with Meteor, Meteor is an isomorphic framework. So it allows you to write code that runs on both the front-end and the back-end, or either or. And there are specific implementations of Meteor for like Angular or React. I don't know that much about it, but it's basically that. And it has a lot more opinions about how you do things. And then Sails is a lot more comparable to like Ruby on Rails, where there's a ton of opinions about how you structure your code and where you put things. But I believe Sails allows you to enable things as real time, and Meteor allows you to enable things as real time. I think the major difference is that this is very focused on services and exposing those services, and it's really up to you how you write those services and where you put your code. Feathers doesn't have any opinions about that. And these other things have a lot more opinions. But you're right, they're very similar in that they can basically allow you to create real-time services really fast. The context object was one of the confusing parts for me, especially manipulating context.data. Yeah, let's talk about it. So if you look at hooks. And then we look at the hook context. Basically, this is all the information about the current request and things that you have access to. So context.app gives you access to the Feathers application. So that way you could potentially access other services inside of a hook. And specifically what we're talking about is inside of a hook. So a hook is just a function. Like in this case, we're saying the created at hook is going to get called before any message gets created. And the created at hook gets access to the context, and then it can do things with that. So context, you have access to the app, the service itself that it's being called on, the path, method type params. If it's a put or a patch or a remove, you have access to the ID. If it's a create, a put, or a patch, you have access to data. In the error hooks, you have access to the error, and then in the after hooks, you have access to the result. That's the outgoing response. So so you can technically use Feathers only in the browser and then use the local storage adapter, and so that way, basically, any service code you write on your front end is actually just storing it in local storage. And then when you go back to that website, it can just pull it back out from local storage. There are some things that could potentially sync local storage with like your backend service, but technically you could use it without a backend and use it to only interact with local storage. And thank you, Bruno. Thank you for that follow. I just console log the context, do what I need. Yeah, me too. That's how I debug a lot of things is, and basically you want to see like what's actually on the context. Is the user getting set? Like what are the properties and how can you access them? But yeah. Oh, so the thing about context.data, which is the data that's coming into your server, is you can only modify it. Well, you can modify it anywhere, but if you want to modify it before it gets into your database, you have to modify it in a before hook. Because if you do it in an after hook, it's technically already hit your database. And thank you, Paranoid, for that follow. Team didn't work. So yeah, let's keep talking about hooks. So this function will get invoked before we actually attempt to put a message into the database. And in this case, we're just going to set the created at property on that object, context.data. And then we return the context. And then after this, because this didn't throw an error, then eventually it gets inserted into the database. Giscarded is asking, how is Feathers related to something like Express? So when I was mentioning earlier that Feathers allows you to define a very generic service. So you just implement the methods, find, get, remove, update. You implement those methods, but that doesn't say anything about the protocol. That doesn't say that it's a GET request or a POST request or what the URL is. That's where Express comes into play. So Express is how you can expose a Feather service over as a RESTful API. I don't think it's been enabled yet, but the idea being because things are structured in this way, eventually you could use a different transport instead of Express. So instead of Express, you could use something like Koa or Happy or any of these other REST libraries for the backend. But right now, this is the main one for exposing your services over REST. But then you can see when you want to expose real time, you can use Socket.io. But you also could use something like Primus. Yeah. And hello, do from Chile. Welcome. What's up, FD? And so it's a really beautiful idea. Like I've been using Feathers for probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And initially when I first found it, I didn't really get it. But once I got it, it's amazing. Like it has a lot of really good software design principles in it because like eventually, like if Express goes out of date or Express is like no longer relevant, your service code is probably still relevant, so you could swap out your RESTful handler. I love Feathers so much. Nice. And thank you, Unknown Elephant, for that hydrate. Oh, Feathers is how you found me. That's nice. Yeah, it's definitely enterprise use ready. It's been around for a long time. I guess it was about a year ago that the latest version of Feathers was released, but the creator of Feathers, David Luca, he did a Q&A on my stream. Feathers. Feathers guide. Feathers. Well, it's somewhere. David. Here it is. So this stream was a live stream where David, he's the maintainer and the original creator of Feathers. He did a Q&A on our stream, but that was when Feathers 4 launched, which was in August, well, not quite a year ago, but in August of last year, because with version 4 they introduced TypeScript support, so it actually has full TypeScript support now on the front end and on the back end. And there are a lot of other updates too. Yeah, and thank you Didaboom for that follow. We're all just fanboys. Feathers is great. So the thing I like about Feathers, and especially like if we're comparing it to something like Meteor or Sails, is that Feathers lets me do things the way that I want to do things, and it kind of just gets out of the way. Because if you look at my code for the API, this Coding Garden API that I was talking about, I actually just created a bunch of like custom services that are using Monk as a database adapter instead of something like Mongoose. And I didn't use the Feathers generator. I just created the files and the structure how I like to create it. And with Feathers, you can do that because at the end of the day, it's just JavaScript. Yeah. Hello. And thank you, Didadoo, for that follow. All right, so this is an example of a hook. And then you can make them more generic. And at this point, you're just using JavaScript. So this is creating a closure so that way you can hold on to a property and use it later. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I've been streaming on YouTube. Well, I don't stream on YouTube anymore, but I started streaming on YouTube like 2.5 years ago. And I've been on Twitch for about 6 months. But cool. Create a hook, put it in that array, and it's going to get called whenever those methods get called. Yeah, and you can basically hook into when any of these other things happen. And yeah, and as you can see, you can generate custom hooks, but you also can just write your hooks right inside the file. Now, what we were going to do is we see here in the messages hooks, when a message is created, it automatically sets the field. Second stream. Well, I'm glad you're here. But we want to do this exact same thing whenever communities are created. So in the communities hooks, we're going to bring in that same set field, and then we'll copy what they're doing here. So on create. And if we look back at our model, we created this property called owner ID. So that's how I want to set that up. So when a community is created, I'll say data.ownerID should be set to user.id, like that. And so any community that gets created, first of all, you must be logged in. And then if you are logged in, when you create something, the owner ID is going to get set to you. Now, somebody mentioned it earlier. We also need to add some other hooks, right? We want to make sure that if you're updating a server, you are the owner, or if you're patching it or removing it, you are the owner as well. I think there are some other hooks built into Feathers authentication hooks that allow us to do that. Actually, Callum, do you know of those hooks? There's like a hook that says like protect or allow user or something like that. Let's take a look. And thank you, Jim Jam, for that follow. Yeah. Here's the thing. If we go back to focus, resume, I think there's only there's only 1 minute left on the focus. I just talked about stuff for literally 48 minutes. that was a good focus. It'll end in a minute and then it'll just go away. Set field will do it as well. But what I want to do is I want to throw an error if they're attempting to update, patch, or remove anything that's not there, where the owner ID is not their user ID. Params.query. Yeah, I can write a custom hook. Like I'm really good at writing a custom hook. What I'm not good at is using existing hooks because there's a lot of them. Yeah. Set the param. Good evening, Ibaldi. So what you're saying is we use set field, and we basically update the query so that they cannot query for other things. Is that what you're saying? And Tomatube, thank you for the posture check. And Salmon, thank you for the hydrate. And Smiley, thank you for the hydrate. And Happy Jojo, thank you very much for that stretch. Okay, so apparently we can use set field. Teof. In the new version of the hook, you can do everything with set field. That's pretty cool. But thank you for that stretch, Teof. Let's take a look at it. Limit to user. Look, they have an example. So params.user.id should be params.query.ownerID. This is what I want. And actually, we want to do the same thing inside of messages and in communities and inside of users as well. But we want to say params.user._id because we are using Mongo. So that will set params.query.ownerID. Actually, yeah. That's it. That's it, right? That's all I need. So now I can use this hook in update, patch, and in remove. And now users can only do these things to the things where they are the owner. That's right. Yeah, we'll test it, but that seems right. That's awesome. So we want to do the same thing inside of messages. I'll go ahead and set that up. What's up, Katoli? So we want to say, for a message, stream is good. Actually, I don't think I want to allow users. Well, yeah, users can edit their message, so we can allow them to do an update or a patch, and they can remove them. Fine, but we still need to limit them. The stream's pretty good. We're actually writing code, which is nice. So the logged in user, we want to set the user ID on the message object. Yeah, because when we're querying for a message to update it, we want the user ID to be the specific user ID. So hello, JFellyWeb, how's it going? Will be update, patch, and remove. We're going to test these things, but it should work. And I actually want to do the same thing on users. So users should only be able to update, patch, remove themselves. They should not be able to update other users. Now, we could create a custom hook that says, like, if you're a server admin, you can update other users, but I don't think we're even going to allow that. We're just going to say users can only update themselves. So params.user.id should go to params.id, I think, because in this case, this is for the users thing. User service, and in the case of create, update, patch, or remove, it's going to look for a user. Well, in case of update, patch, and remove, it's going to look up the user where the ID is in the params or the URL. I mean, technically, I could set this to be params.query.id, because then when it looks in the user store, it will check against the user ID. Right? Or it'll query it for that ID. I don't know. We'll test it. Let's test it right now. And thank you, Jilly Live. Thank you for that follow. And Bomb Tech, thank you for that follow as well. Moderation idea. The backend run each message against Twitch auto mod. Yeah, you had this same idea for my chat overlay when I was doing YouTube messages, but now we just have auto mod by default. But I'm open to it. Let's do it. Pog. All right, let's actually test this now. But yeah, so we need to implement this. So, and actually, that's the other thing. I can make it so that I can only find or get myself. Like, I can't list all the other users in the system. I should only be able to see myself. So that's great. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about right now is for creating users, you shouldn't be able to make a post request against /users. Cool. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to just create users willy-nilly. Willy-nilly. You should the only way users get created is through the OAuth flow. So technically, I should make it so that the create method is internal only, meaning it can't be accessed from the outside world. It can only be accessed from my actual like application code. Column, do you know of a hook that allows me to do that says internal only? If not, I can write my own. But if there's a built-in one, I'll use it. And let's just generate that really quick. Let's close that. Go into the server. Feathers. Yeah, no worries. The only reason I ask is because I am not familiar with a lot of those things. Thank you, Jilly, for that posture check. Feathers generate hook. Now, you actually don't have to do this. A hook is literally just a function, so you can put it anywhere. But this will put it in a folder called hooks. Internal only. Yeah, and then I'm going to add it myself. Cool. So that generated a hooks folder, and then we have this internal only hook. And what I want to say, and actually, I'm going to simplify this because I don't need to pass in any options. What I need is just a simple function that checks to see if this has been called over REST or sockets. And if it has, then we know that it's external. But if it hasn't been called over REST or sockets, then we can just do what we're doing. So let's look at the Feathers docs. Because I believe if we look at context dot, it's like protocol or something like that. Disallow external. That's beautiful. Thank you, Spioni. Is disallow in the in here? I need to look at these docs. And thank you, Red Recramaze. Thank you for that follow. And the She-Boss with the gifted sub. Feathers hooks common. Cool. I think I'll install this because I know a lot of people that are familiar with Feathers use these. Here's the thing. I now have, I have one Feathers app in production and then one that will be in production soon. And I have not used Feathers hooks common. Anytime I need a hook, I just write it myself. But I am open to using these things. Yeah, all of my user messages are from Discord. What's up, Locoro? Welcome to the stream. They have a documentation, right? Let's check it out. Hooks. LEDs like a binary clock? That could be cool. I just like the chat interaction, though, because people in the chat can turn the LEDs on and off. What was it? Disallow external? Cool. Prevents access to a service method completely or for specific transports. That's great. However, I'll show you how I would write it custom, and then we'll just install this and use it because less code is good. And this is like definitely a community sanctioned library that a lot of people use. But I believe we can do like, is it protocol? Oh no, transport. Grab the snippet from that particular hook. Oh, like look at the source code? I shouldn't have to look at the source code. I think it's just context.transport. The She-Boss. Oh, good job, She-Boss. Let's do this. Here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna actually log the context so we can inspect it. But I think it's context.transport. And now we have this hook that's called internal only, and we're gonna bring that in here into users hooks. Go up one directory, and then up another directory, and then go into hooks. Context.params.provider. Nice. I'm gonna figure it out though by looking at the logged context. So hooks slash internal only. There we go. And so I want to use this hook whenever someone is attempting to create. Yeah, and so I did InstaFluff just start? When did InstaFluff start? What we might do is just go raid them. I'll take a break and then I'll stream after. I think these are brown keys. I'm not totally familiar with them. Okay, InstaFluff is streaming. All right, who would be mad if we raided them right now? Can we? He started 13 minutes ago. Yeah, he'll be live for like 15 more minutes. All right. We've actually written quite a lot of code today. I think we're gonna raid the live coders team, and then I'll start up again in like 30 or 45 minutes. What do you all think of that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Are people who's gonna be mad if I do that? Probably like 30 to 45 minutes. Cool. All right, let's do it. We're gonna do it. All right. So I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for the supports today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being nice. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. So I'll be back streaming again in, let's say, roughly an hour, maybe a little less than an hour, but I'll be back in about an hour. We're going to go raid the live coders team because InstaFluff is talking right now and he's super awesome. Can we get those raid messages ready? So if you click, well, you can't see it. If you click this link, that'll give you the raid messages. And yeah, I'll send a message on Discord whenever I go live again. So thank you all. We'll see you soon. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Say hi to InstaFluff for me, and we'll see you then.